given some time has passed, how are your feelings about Ari Shaffir? But I'm just curious to know if a little bit of time has passed and maybe your feelings have changed.
Oh, I'm happy to answer it. Did you really not know that was?
I did not know that.
You promise? Okay, so this is a new idea I had about my podcast. People ask me so many questions on emails and on Instagram, so I wanted to just podcast and answer questions. So there's a voicemail line, 818-949-8536. If you have questions, feel free to leave a message, and we will. We may not play all of them, depends on the question, but we'll play them back, and then I'll answer them. Okay, let's start with our first voicemail.
Hi, LeeAnn. Currently binging your podcast, and I'm finding a lot of comfort, solidarity, and good vibes. So I just want to thank you for that up front. I relate a lot with the mom stuff and having to put in a lot of internal work. I'm currently in the stages of what feels like a promising romantic relationship and feel the need to express to him kind of where I'm coming from in regards to relationship trauma and how I see myself now and what I'm looking for. I'm hesitating. I'm scared of being misunderstood and losing what is good about the current situation. So my question is, how do I push past that fear of the possibility of abandonment, rejection, demonization that seems to steal my voice and mash up my thoughts and articulation? Thank you so much for what you do and put out there. You are a beautiful human being. Thank you so much.
That's so nice. Thank you for calling. I think what I would do, what I actually have done in the past when I had things that I needed to talk about, but I had a lot of kind of trauma or trigger responses to some of the things I needed to talk about, was I wrote it out. I would write out how I felt. I'd write out what I was afraid of, what I was afraid they would be afraid of, what I was afraid to say out loud, the things that had happened to me that made me feel the way I felt. And I just kind of vomited, like just a big vomit onto page. You could probably even vomit in like a voice text memo thing so that you can just get it out of your body. Because a lot of the time when you have all these fears and you hold on to them and you try to kind of skirt around them, or deal your way around them, it doesn't really work. I think it just is really effective to talk through all the things that you're scared of. And sometimes if you're not in therapy, it's really hard to talk to another person about those things. For me, it was always good for me to, like I said, write it out on paper. And then you can get really clear about what is going on presently and what is really from the past. My therapist is a long time ago told me this. I thought it was so wise. Emotional maturity is being able to hold two things at one time. So you can hold what is past trauma, what is a reaction or a trigger, and you can hold what's going on now. I'm afraid they're going to leave, or I'm afraid I'll say all these things and he will leave. And what you can do in those scenarios is you can really troubleshoot what your present fear is. And you can troubleshoot all your trigger stuff. So if you're, like my mom left a lot when I was a kid, left over and over again. So of course I'm afraid people are going to leave. So I can talk to that little girl and say, okay, well, this is not your mother. This is someone entirely different. And this person may actually choose to leave. Now, what would that look like in present day? How would that feel? And what could I do to help myself if that, you can't control another person, but if you tell this person all the things you're afraid to tell them and they say to you, oops, too much for me, then what does that really look like? No one wants that to be the answer, especially as you relate it as someone that you're really interested in building a life with. You think from this point, that's not the answer you want. But sometimes if you really go to the end of the road and really look at the worst case scenario, you can kind of craft how you'll react to it. And it kind of puts that aside. It takes a lot of fear away so that you can really just say what you need to say to take care of yourself. Because I'll tell you the alternative. walking into a relationship not saying, hey, I have all these things going on and they concern me. They're going to show up anyway. You may as well just be upfront with them and say, hey, I'm concerned about abandonment. I'm concerned about some trauma I had and how it will affect our present day relationship. I'd love to have an open conversation about it. I'd love to be able to talk to you about it when I'm feeling a certain way. Here's where this comes from. Here's why I'm afraid. And I'd love help. There's very few people who goes, yeah, I'm not helping you with that. If they do, they're probably not the right person for you anyway. So I would say, write it out, get really clear with what you're afraid of, start asking yourself the questions why you're afraid of these things, and really consider the worst case scenario and figure out what your plan would be after that. And then see how that makes you feel. It should alleviate some of the anxiety, the anxiousness around having the conversation. And again, I think if someone is, where are you coming on my podcast?
Can I be on?
Yeah.
I'd love to answer a caller.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
Are you shoplifting your?
Really?
Really?
Camera on me?
Are you? That's so funny.
Is there a camera on me?
This camera. Oh, where is the camera? Right here. Anyway, do I finish answering this question, or
Yeah,
do we
please.
start
You were
over?
answering it very. I love that you said write it down.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I think that's so smart. It's like the number one thing. Tell me when I'm on.
That's so funny. I thought you were downstairs making fun of me.
No, not
I was
at
like,
all.
I wish Bert weren't here because he's probably going to be making fun of me so
Okay,
much
no.
for answering this question. It's such a
write
great
it
question.
down is such a great thing. Writing down your thoughts and your feelings is so fucking cool. I don't do it enough. What I end up doing is having all those feelings, and then they're all in my head and they're scrambled everywhere. But it's weird to go into a meeting with a relationship with a list, but it is.
You don't have to bring it to the relationship.
No.
It's not about you bringing it to the person and going, I've written a few things down I need to discuss with you. It's about really getting clear. To me, it's about clarifying what is the past and what is the present.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have your thoughts clearly evaluated, where you've really sifted through them, writing them down forces you to do that.
Here's the thing I wanted to say to this caller, because I was listening to the call. I'm going to put 2 zins in. This is bad advice, but this is how I think. You're never wrong. This is your life. This is your life. You're never wrong. You will know when you're wrong, but having someone take your voice away, was that correct in what I'm saying? Is so unfair. And what I'm thinking when I heard that was that you're basing future events on past behaviors, and not everyone's that last person.
That's right. That's why you have to tease out the past from the present, right?
Yeah, I had this thing where I thought maybe it's me. You know, when I had so many bad relationships, I was like, maybe it's me, and I had to stop being in relationships, and I took time off from being in relationships, and then when I met you, I realized. This is different than every other person. And I started realizing like, I can also never be wrong in this relationship because these are my feelings and this is how I feel. And I'm wildly different than everyone she's ever met. And I'm wildly different than anyone she'll ever meet. And I'm an individual and I live this journey on this rock. I had this crazy thought the other day where I thought, how crazy is it that we all got the same lottery ticket at the same time, that we all turned out alive together, right? How cool is that? In saying that, there's a bunch of people with cool lottery tickets just like yours that they're feeling exactly how you are. And and you're looking at past behaviors going like, oh, just because I got some bad shit, I'm worried about the bad shit. You can find the badass person, and the badass person is waiting for you.
Well, the thing is, too, you have to give the person the opportunity to rise to the occasion, right? You have to give the person the opportunity to say, I got it. I want that. Exactly. So
go ahead. Remember when I thought you had herpes?
What?
Remember when you said, I have a lot of shit? I went, oh, she has herpes. And you were like, no.
I don't remember that it's because you thought I had herpes.
Yeah, because
I don't have herpes.
It was about your family. And you were like.
Yes, where I said, you don't want my baggage.
And I was like, I'm in.
And you said, I do. And I said, no, you don't. You don't understand the depth of it. You don't understand how like damaged I am. You don't want this as damaged goods. And you were like, I do, but I want it.
I thought it was herpes.
But if I had never said that out loud, I would have always said, he doesn't want this.
Yeah.
I would have had massive imposter syndrome in our relationship. I would have been like, he doesn't actually know
what he's
signing up for. So if I hadn't said it out loud, I wouldn't have been able to be as present and connected with you as I am, because I wouldn't have valued my own experience. So my own trauma and my own experience has to be valued, right? So that you can decide to do something different. If you never value it, you never decide to do anything different. If you just continue to move forward, you haven't given yourself the opportunity to really course correct or self correct.
But it all lands on you are the badass. You are the badass. It's your fucking life. And and I know this is probably soft narcissism thought, but you are never wrong.
Well, I can't really sign up for that. What I say is, I don't like you are never wrong. I don't like that phrasing. It's very kind of
I'll tell you right now, this caller is someone who's very evaluating of her own behavior. She's very self-regulating and self-correcting like I am.
Yes.
I'm very self-regulating.
You're self-correcting. I don't know about self-regulating.
Yeah.
Regulatory is.
I just walked in on your own podcast because I was like, I loved this caller.
You can't regulate.
I heard the sensitivity in her voice, and I just thought,
she sounds lovely.
She sounds lovely, and everything she said was so sweet. And I thought, oh, you deserve everything that's out there.
Of course.
And you need to fight for it for yourself. You need to look at yourself and go, I am Superman. I am the baddest bitch in this fucking town, and I deserve everything coming my way. And there is a person out there. And we're just doing numbers. There are roughly 100 million people out there that would be lucky to be with you.
Well, here's something that you have to realize too, is that all that baggage you bring makes you very dynamic, right?
Yeah.
It typically makes you a good problem solver, someone who's empathetic, someone who can look at someone else's side. And there's problems that come with it. There's problems. Sometimes that happened this weekend. I was feeling things I couldn't understand or figure out. And so I had to have a little bit of a shitty behavior to be able to get to the actual behavior, because the actual feelings, because I was so conditioned growing up that I couldn't have feelings like that. They weren't allowed. So when I actually have feelings, I sometimes will almost decompartmentalize them so that I'll just pretend like they're not happening. And then that's not wrong. How long have I been in therapy? I'm 53 years old. So to have somebody, to be able to have someone say back to you, no, I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
I'm here for all of it.
And I'm here for the work.
Yes.
That's the other thing. Is like, I was listening to a podcast on Mount Rushmore, and they would sometimes misdiagnose how much dynamite to put in. They'd cut off like 200 pounds of rock, and they go, God damn it, we got to change his face now.
Yeah.
But if you look at Mount Rushmore,
it's perfect.
It's perfect. But they fucked it up a lot.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, Teddy Roosevelt looks like he's wearing glasses. That's in rock.
Right.
And all those mistakes made it look like he's wearing glasses.
Right.
So let the mistakes be a part of the perfection.
That's a great way of saying that. Let the mistakes be part of the perfection.
Next caller. I love
I'm glad you came in and started running my podcast.
No, I'm sorry. I just thought this was the coolest fuck. I heard the first caller and I was like,
you liked it.
I loved it.
I get so embarrassed. I get really shy to tell you my ideas.
Well, I was watching your face when the caller, and I was like, you need to cut between different faces, because your face was like, you didn't know how to accept the compliment. It was such a cool compliment. And you were going like this. And I was like, oh, I want to be a part of this. Next caller.
Hi, LeeAnn. I just listened to your episode with Andy. It was fantastic. And you mentioned that you just decided to take the good things from your mother and leave behind her bad traits. And I was just wondering through the whole podcast, hoping to be able to ask you is how do I facilitate that? How do I make that happen in my own life?
I know how.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Aw, I know how. This is, I almost want to say this is easy, but it's actually not easy. So how I did it was, okay, so for a long time, I made my mom's all my mom's traits were evil. So in my early 20s, my mom was very beautiful. She was a model. I cut off all my hair. I had like a real boy cut. I dressed like a boy. I wore baggy like overalls and big boots. No makeup. I refused to be pretty or sexy or any of that. I refused it. My mom is very funny and goofy. Sings goofy songs, makes up lyrics to songs, talks to her animals. I didn't do any of that. I was like, anything that's of her, I reject fully. And then when I got to a certain age, I decided, I read a quote actually by Nelson Mandela that is something about resentment only hurts the resenter, right? It's like me drinking poison and expecting her to die. Resentment is only affecting me. And the way out of resentment is forgiveness. And forgiveness isn't permission. It's not saying what you did is okay. It's really, for me, it's almost the opposite of drinking poison. It's like drinking a magical potion when you decide to forgive someone. So I sat down and wrote my mother a love letter. I wrote her a legitimate love letter of all the beautiful things she gave. I'm going to cry. Of all the beautiful things she gave me. Like, I sing to our girls all the time. That's my mom, right? My mom would throw a tea party like that. My mom took me to Everybody's Pizza and Fernbank Science Center every Friday night because I loved science so much. She wanted me to go to museums. She wanted me to expand my life. She wanted me to travel. She wanted me to marry someone who would take me around the world. She was fun. She was so pretty. And she was an outside the box thinker. She was someone who took risks. And I just wrote her the most amazing love letter that was full of gratitude. All of it. I even talked about some of the negative stuff that showed up as positive. Like, because she changed who she was day to day, it made me very aware of who people are. So I can read people very quickly. And that's a gift. That's something I use all the time in parenting. My mom had some really good parenting qualities. She may be course corrected. Like I ate so healthy that I hated eating. But my kids, I always made sure they ate healthy before they ate junk, which seems
you're good
kind
with
of
healthy snacks.
I'm good with healthy snacks, right? But that's how I was able to embrace all the parts of her that are part of me, is because I was able to, again, write it down, everything that was a gift, and to say thank you for it. And I actually mailed it to her. I mailed it to her. I did. I don't know if she ever read it, but I mailed it to her. This was before I met you. Oh. And then obviously I wasn't free that day, but that day was the moment where I started moving toward freedom from all the negative feelings I have from her. I really, truly love my mom, and I just want her to have her best life. It breaks my heart that she will never know love. In my opinion, she will never know love like I know love, because she just can't seem to get out of her own way. It's really a shame.
I never really knew her.
No, you've met her, what, twice? Once,
yeah.
Yeah, that's how I did that. How I was able to really love myself.
Is there something cool I can say? I don't want to take the energy away from what you just said, because it's so cool. Mm. But the one thing, my one pull away that I want this person to hear is, everyone great in this world, everyone great has had complicated things, relationships. Mm. Everyone great has persevered. Nelson Mandela. Everyone you've, I hate to go back to Mount Rushmore, but like
that, top of mind.
His dad left him at a young age. and said, I'm done with you. And quotes are so cool because everyone who's got a cool quote is a dude or a woman who went through shit.
They earned that quote.
And you got to look for those quotes. And that's the coolest thing about your journey you're in right now is you get to sit with your ears up like a fucking Pekingese and say, what are the cool quotes coming my way? My favorite quote ever is, and I didn't have this with my mom or my dad, but I had it with another person. And there was a quote by A Perfect Circle, Maynard James. The song's Judith. And it says, you're such an inspiration for a way I never want to be. And I love taking quotes and then applying it to my life. I think it's so cool. Don't ever start a speech with a quote. It's a hacky thing to do. But look for the quotes in life. Listen to music and read and look for the quotes that mean stuff to you. It's something you do very well. You have a Bible where you take these quotes and you write all your quotes that mean something to you. But now you're in a great place to look for quotes. And how fucking cool is it to be in the salad days of figuring out your heart and your soul and your life, and to be open to the universe to find quotes that apply to you and write them down and let them just like you did with that Nelson Mandela quote. Find that for yourself. Let
it affect you positively. And the thing about freedom from rejecting that part of you can be really scary. Because I know for me, I didn't trust that I wouldn't turn into her by allowing her traits to come forward, right? Yeah. So if I'm someone who's sexy, I'm definitely going to automatically be a manipulator. That is part and parcel.
Like make it basic. Like say your dad was a cop and he was racist. You're afraid to be a cop because you'd end up becoming racist. I don't mean to say cops are racist, but like same. Like if you was a fireman, he smoked cigarettes, you didn't want to be a fireman because you didn't want to smoke cigarettes because you saw your dad smoke cigarettes. I think that was
a one-to-one. My mom was super manipulative. She manipulated through sexuality. For me to be sexual meant I was being manipulative, and that's not true. But I had to trust myself to tease the two away from each other and to choose those traits that were inherently part of me because I was choosing myself instead of looking at it as choosing my mom, right? So if I choose to be a sexy woman, then I'm choosing to be my mom. No. Yeah. I'm choosing to be myself, right? And if I'm choosing to sing a goofy song to my daughters, I'm not choosing to be my mom. I'm choosing to be myself. Think about all the
things you don't choose that your parents do that you replicate, and like you can't help. Like me with my dad raising my voice, I didn't even choose that,
right?
But I did it,
yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't like that shit.
So you choose something different.
You got to choose something different.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place to be. It's a great opportunity to pick and choose what you want to embrace and embrace it fully. And then when you do that, it's amazing how much your heart opens up, because I really do love my mom. And there's parts of my mom that I really miss. Like if we had a good relationship, we'd be singing the goofy songs together.
It bums me out. We never got to know her.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. Yeah. But
But our life's pretty good.
My life's very good. There's nothing missing.
I'm just saying that to the callers, like, your life can be good without it.
Yeah.
Our life's pretty good. I've only met her once.
Yeah, our life's great.
Yeah.
It's good. Wife of the Party is sponsored by Lumi. Unlike certain other deodorants, Lumi is powered by mandelic acid to control odor in a new way. Lumi delivers outrageous 72-hour odor control everywhere, from your pits to your feet and, yes, even your privates. In fact, it was patients' concerns about private part odor that originally inspired the OBGYN who invented Lumi. Fast forward 6 years, and her game-changing whole-body deodorant has now earned over 300,000 5-star reviews from people like me who love feeling confident from head to toe. Lumi's whole-body deodorant is seriously safe to use anywhere on your body: pits, underboobs, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, vulvas, and feet. Choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. Menopause causes sweat in a variety of places where you've never sweat before, like the underboob area. And there's nothing better than a deodorant wipe that can just wipe away all your troubles and keep you fresh for 72 hours. I love their deodorant wipes for exactly that reason. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals 40% off their starter pack. Use code WIFE15 for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code WIFE15 at LumiDeodorant.com. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This year has gone so quickly. What's something I've been proud of in 2024 so far? I'm really proud of the way I've been communicating with my husband about work. I'm really proud of how the progress we've made there. And what's something else I still want to accomplish this year? I want to write a book. I want to write a book this year. So that's something I want to accomplish. You know, when life goes so fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins and make adjustments for the rest of the year. Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. I am a huge proponent of therapy. My therapist constantly, or at least I, in my therapy sessions, question my goals and am I happy and am I doing what I want with my life? It's a great way to take stock of where you are and to be present. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime, no additional charge. Take a moment, visit betterhelp.com/wife today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/wife.
Next caller.
Next caller.
Hey, LeeAnn. First, I just wanted to say I love your podcast. You've got such a unique view, and it's rad. You talk quite a bit about how you and Bert recently started dating each other, and I'm just curious what that looked like. Did you guys have a conversation collectively? Did one of you broach it, or did you both just synonymously realize that was going to happen? Because I've been with my husband for 16 years, and I feel like we could use a little of that in our life. Thanks so much. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Well, it starts with coconut lube.
Oh, shut up.
Whatever that fucking moisturizer we have.
It's called Woo. W-O-O.
It's so fucking
Woo.
great.
Okay, so this is what I think for general advice for someone who's calling for advice on how to date, right? How to start dating. So to me, there's a difference between date night and dating, right? Date night is you go to dinner, you go to the usual taco joint, you have dinner, you go home. It's like every other night except you eat out. That's really kind of what we were doing.
Yeah.
But when you date, like think about the beginning of your relationship. When you dated, you planned something, you got excited for it, you got dressed up for it. Maybe not super dressed up, but you were mindful about what you looked like and you were mindful about your behavior when you were on the date. You didn't just be sloppy or talk about shit that stressed you out. You were on a date. You were curious about the other person. You were interested in what they had to say. You put aside chores and kids and bills and money, and you talk about dreams and aspirations and feelings and fun, and you cut up and you flirt. Flirting is something I think over time that just kind of goes away a little bit. But when you were dating your husband, you flirted. You flirted even when you're in the relationship, right? So I think that is what dating someone is to me, as opposed to a date night with your husband. And on top of that, when we were dating, I was very sex focused, and I wasn't so much when we were married. I was like, oh, well, that's in the bag. But not that we had a bad sex life. I just wasn't focused on it. But when you're dating somebody, you kind of like, ooh, I can't wait to hook up later. But you don't really think about that when you're married in the same way. It's kind of just a reframing of stuff you're kind of sort of maybe already doing, hopefully. 16 years in, you're having a date night from time to time. But I also look at opportunities to do something special, like meet at a hotel or
Oh, that was the fucking coolest.
it was awesome, right?
It's got to be that spontaneity is the thing. I think sometimes I'll speak for a man, but like the being the girl you were. Does that make sense?
I'm not the girl I was, though.
No, but well, let's talk about that one night. One night I did a podcast in Hollywood and I just texted LeeAnn and I said, hey, I got to do a set at the store, right? I had to do a set at the store. I was like, hey, do you want to have dinner over? Now, this is not me dating. This is just, you want to have dinner over here? Come watch my set, give me notes or whatever. And then you said, let's get a hotel room. We'll have an in-room dining, or we'll eat there and then we'll go have a hotel room for the night. That, for me, was like, it was like a first kiss. It was like the wind knocked out of me. I remember who I was standing next to, and I remember I said it out loud to everyone. I'm getting a hotel room. I'm getting a fucking hotel room. And it didn't, and that for me made the dinner that much more special. That little extra effort from you of just saying, why don't we get a hotel room? And it's a luxury to be able to afford a hotel room in your own city you don't have to do that, but just something special, like turn on the hot tub. You want a specialty cocktail? Hey, let's make a couple cocktails, watch the sunset. Light
some candles and set some mood in your own bedroom.
Yeah.
Right? Just a little shift.
There's nothing wrong with us saying, let's watch Shogun.
No.
That's just as fun.
But that's not a date.
That's not a date, but I will say that like that little extra thought meant so much to me because I think I started dating you after you started dating me.
Well, I was dating you on the sly.
Yeah.
She asked, did we have a conversation about it? So I've told this before on podcasts, so forgive the repetition, but a friend of mine just casually mentioned that she and her husband never stopped dating and then explained to me what that was. And I went, I'm going to apply that in my own life. I'm going to start actively dating Bert again and see how it affects everything. Like, see how things shift around. I didn't tell him that. I just kind of started changing a few things here, a few things there. And then at a certain point, actually right before the hotel room, I had explained to you what that conversation was with Shiva and how I'd been applying it. And your light bulb went off and was like, oh, that's what's going on. And then I said to you, I think we should start doing this. Like the way, I think obviously depending on your life, you can do this differently, but Shiva and her husband take turns and, January, Shiva plans a legit date. And February, Jeremy plans a legit date. And they just take turns each month really planning something, a concert, a dinner, a spa trip, a picnic at the beach, a picnic in the park, a bike ride, whatever. They take turns actually planning it. That's not how our life works. We don't live together all the time. You're in and out. So we don't quite have that kind of regimented thing. But we never really, I guess, did we sit down and have a conversation about this is how we're going to do this?
No. What happens is if you want tomatoes, you have to plant tomatoes. And you wanted tomatoes and you planted tomatoes. And then I realized we're harvesting tomatoes. I love marinara. And I want to do everything to keep these tomatoes fucking coming in. Because you're the one that planted the seed. And I thought I was confused at first, but it's just start the ball rolling. You start it and then tell him this is what you're doing. And
I would say invite him to do the same because I think you planned a date or two.
I'm not good at it.
So, but I'm not, this isn't a complaint. This is just a straight up comment. Like you've planned a date or two and it does feel really special when the other person, but I don't need like my turn, your turn, my turn, your turn. Our relationship doesn't work like that.
I would argue, and I hope Jeremy and Shiva hear this one day, that they gave us notes on how to train for the season and you took a Kobe Bryant approach. Like I'll get up at 4 a.m. and I'm going to out train everybody.
That may be true.
Because that may be slightly true. You were like, you would buy matching bra and panties and you would.
Yes.
And then I got really excited. And then I remember buying crotchless panties for you one time. But it was fun. It wasn't like everything was a home run. Everything was fun and we're still partners and it was fun and silly. But in that silliness, there was an intense amount of like kissing changed. Kissing changed. And also, the triggers for your husband, your man. LeeAnn knows my triggers and little things like she gets up always earlier than I do, and then she'll get in bed and cuddle with me real quick. I just need a quick cuddle. And it's just a connection. And then that connection would carry over through the day, and you'd think all these positive things, and you'd be like, God, I want more of that. It really honestly is like, I mean, it really was you, but I liked what you were harvesting, and I didn't want to stop it. Does that make sense?
It does. Well, I mean, I think another part of it, if you just think about what I keep doing is I keep thinking what my mentality was when we were dating, right? What was my focus? What was my curiosity?
Meat and potatoes.
No, that's not what I mean.
When we were married.
When we were dating.
Oh,
I said when we were dating.
Yeah.
We were dating. There was a different kind of curiosity. We got married and like 6 months later had a baby. So I think we got thrust into having to be other focused, and you were on the road and I was just trying to freaking get from A to B. So, but if I look back to the beginning of dating in general, not just dating you, but dating in general, there's a certain type of curiosity and a certain focus on things that just kind of get lazy when you're married and you have kids and you have drop off and pick up and softball. And you got to be willing
to be very open and honest and willing to try new things and take chances and let things work and let things not work. And that's to the guy is like, I will say that I always go to sex stuff, but like today I feel more free sexually than I've ever felt in my entire life. And I think it's because you started dating me, and all of a sudden I had this brand new girlfriend that I could say things to that I've been married to forever that I could never say things to. Yeah. I could never ask of. I would always be afraid to. Or not afraid to, but more like, I don't know.
It's not worth the trouble.
It's not worth the trouble. I'd rather just get this done.
Yeah. I'm getting it and that should be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but I think the thing too is, I was saying this the other day. I don't remember if it was on a podcast or if it was to Kirsten because we're reading these books about sex and long-term relationships. But I was like, who else would you have fun with than the person that you're committed to, that you are in love with, that you've been with forever? There's no safer place to make a mistake. There's no safer place to, fall off the bed because you've tried to do something acrobatic and laugh about it. Why would you ever hesitate? Hey, how about we get a hotel room and have him say, yeah, not for me, not today. And be like, okay, if you've been together long enough, that should be okay. Right?
Yeah, I think I got into a place where I didn't want to ask certain things because I was just afraid you say no. And I was like, I used to have a joke where I say, why am I going to hit on my wife to get shot down? I'm not going to get shot down by my wife. I'd rather just fucking go, hey, you think we can bang one out? That was what I said.
Well, I think we answered the question, did we?
Yeah, next caller.
Hi, Mrs. Kreischer. My name is Gregory. A longtime fan of First and a medium-time fan of yours.
I like this guy.
Since your podcast. My question is, having heard your podcast and knowing a lot of your background and your trauma, to be now on the other side where you and Bert are very successful and doing well, I want to know, is it more like more money, more problems, or is it more like a sense of relief? I would love to hear from you. Thank you.
I don't think we have more problems. It's just more responsibility. I think it's how you look at that. I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't feel like it's more money, more problems. I think that it is a relief. And at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of thinking and like planning that goes along with this level of success that you have. There's a lot of strategy and thinking and a lot of brain work.
Well,
more so.
I think I go back to this thing about what makes you happy with money. We had a conversation about a person yesterday, and that person has very little ambition, meaning they're very comfortable making a paycheck and going home and listening to music on their computer and chilling out with their boyfriend, and they don't need much more than that.
Mm-hmm. And they're happy.
And they're very happy. Mm-hmm. The thing that made me happy was ambition and to try to make bigger things. And so I think you get caught up in that a little bit, and then you lose your happiness a little bit, and you go, well, I got to pull it back. And more money, more problems only happens when you start more overhead, more problems.
Mm-hmm.
When you start paying for more things because you need more things.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you can sizzle it down and find out what makes you happy. Do you want a boat? Then get a boat.
Yeah.
Then get a boat and have your house and spend your weekends on the boat. And
then know that the boat comes with responsibility
Yeah.
and cost and maintenance and upkeep, and be glad for that. Like if you can afford the boat, make sure you can afford the upkeep so that the boat is not a problem. Like if you have a dream, right? Like having a boat, but you can't afford the boat slip, the mechanic, the gas, then the boat's going to make you miserable, right? Because then you can't ride the boat. You can't maintain the boat. It's a pain in the ass. So I see that a lot with some of our colleagues a lot, where they will grow and financially and then buy a house that's maximize their money, and now they can't effectively take care of everything else in their world. And that's not happiness. You have to grow at a relative pace, and you have to grow in a way where you can really care for all that you're growing, and it's not more of a burden.
I think there's a lot more relief in maximizing your money. Meaning, like if you just go, like think back to when you were in an apartment, right? And you were like, yo, my nut is $1,200 a month for the apartment, and I can get a car for $500 a month, and I cell phone bill, and then all of a sudden you started making more money, and then you go, that's where it bleeds in, where you start going, well, maybe I should have a nicer car, or maybe I'm better than the people in this apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get rid of that shit in your head, because I have friends that have crazy money.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends that I know billionaires. Trust me when I say, there is a voice in my head going, wouldn't that be cool to have a yacht or to rent a yacht? I have a buddy who rented a yacht in Australia, and shout out to Joe Coy. And I remember going like, oh, I want to do that because I saw Joe do it. And I thought it was cool as shit. And then I saw how much it cost, and I was like, I can't afford that. And then you get in your head, you're like, why can't I afford that? Like he's doing bigger venues than I am, but you go like, why? Holy fucking shit. And then it lands on yourself, and you go, well, that's silly. You can also just go, how cool is Joe Coy's life?
Yeah, right?
And just go like, that's badass. That's fucking badass. Yeah. And celebrate Joe Coy for taking his son and his family out in a yacht for the day and being able to afford it, and go, man, maybe one day, maybe not. I mean, the TV show Cribs used to fuck me up because I used to go like, when will I get a private island? Mm-hmm. And then that's not in the cards for me. It's not going to be in the cards for me.
Right.
But find the things you love with your money and celebrate that. And also, like, don't get caught up in like I have friends that love cars. I don't love cars really at all. But I would get myself getting caught up in cars.
Yeah.
Because my friends loved cars.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show up at the store in a cool car. Mm-hmm. I remember one time I had a BMW 5 Series, a fucking badass car. Probably one of my favorite cars I've ever had. Mm-hmm. I remember opening the door and there was a BMW symbol on the pavement.
Yeah.
I remember Rogan saw it. He's like, balling out of control. And I thought, yeah. But I didn't know that the car had that thing.
Yeah.
Until Joe saw it. I never noticed
Never noticed it. So
and then I was like, I need all my cars from this point forward have to have fucking emblems that show up on the pavement. You get caught up in money. And I will say, having money definitely gives you an exhale, but the dog chasing its own tail, keeping up with the Joneses, and
well, we don't really do that.
But we have friends that
do that.
But
we don't do that. For me, money has been relief, but it does not come without added responsibility.
Yeah.
It's both. So you have to kind of, it's both.
How cool would our life be? For real, you said this the other night in bed. You were like, yo, what if we just got a new house and just downsized everything? Because the girls are in college, and what do we need, really? Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, first thing I thought was how cool to be married to a chick that thinks that way. Because not every fucking person you're married to is going to think that way. Mm-hmm. But I was like, yeah, what is the fucking goal of this thing? Mm-hmm. Is it just being like, hey man, we're good.
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal.
Yeah, the goal is, hey man, we're good. And I think at a certain point you can go, for you, it's never really, and arguably for me, this life we've gone on through together has not been about money.
No.
It's been about art.
It's been about comedy.
It's been about comedy. And
my life's about comedy. That's it.
And the money is a very graciously welcomed positive side effect, but it wasn't the goal. The goal was never, for you and for me, is never like, we're going to be a gazillionaire.
When we started Fully Loaded, you said very quickly, in order for this to be successful, we have to do 11 years of it. And you said in order to do 11 years, you have to do 2 years. And if you want to do 2 years, that first year, you can't make any money.
It's break even. And so a lot of the things we do, and I know this sounds so stupid, saying this as a person that's, I guess, ultimately trying to make money, is not every venture we make is out to make money. No.
This podcast is probably still in the red because...
Wife of the party,
because of all the years we've done it, where we went, but that's not the goal. The goal wasn't to make money. You didn't start a podcast to make money, and I didn't start Birdcast to make money.
No.
I didn't start Something's Burning to make money.
No.
We didn't start Two Bears to make money. Honestly, we didn't. We did it because Tommy and I loved hanging out with each other.
Yes.
And we weren't spending a lot of time together, and it was a time for us to chill and hang. And yes, money shows up. Money kind of does make things a little more confusing at times, but like everything we've done has been about having a good time.
Mm-hmm. And you know what they say, do what you love and the money will come.
I swear to God, whatever you're doing right now, stop, and write down 5 things you'd love to do for a living. And then just fucking quit your job and do those things. And I guarantee you will make the money will show up, and you will be so goddamn happy. I do stand up. I can do stand up. I know for a fact I can do stand up for probably $1,500 a weekend for the rest of my life. I know I can. I know I did it when I was bad at it. I probably could make that, and we could probably pay our nut that way. Mm-hmm. And I'd still be fucking happy as shit.
Totally. It's about the art.
Yeah.
Wife of the Party is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. With Father's Day right around the corner, what do you give the man who has everything? Easy. You give him an experience he'll never forget. You give him Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks equals the world's best beef, naturally aged for the ultimate in tenderness, juiciness, and flavor. Omaha Steaks knows exactly what dads want. Steaks. This Father's Day, give him an experience he'll always remember. Mouth-watering steaks and a reason to think about you. Order now and send Dad unforgettable gift packages starting at just $89 with promo code WIFE. 5 generations of family-owned expertise means uncompromising quality you can trust. Every steak and every entree is flash frozen, vacuum sealed, and ready to prepare whenever Dad wants to grill. All backed by their unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. I love Omaha Steaks. It makes buying a gift for the people you love in your life, particularly my dad, super easy. I can go online and order him steaks, burgers, hot dogs, 1 skillet meals, desserts, sides, everything he could possibly want to have a wonderful meal. I can give to my dad. Super easy, quick click of a button. Make this Father's Day unforgettable with Omaha Steaks. Go to omahasteaks.com and order delicious gift packages starting at $89 with code WIFE at checkout. Satisfaction guaranteed.
Next caller.
Hi, LeeAnn. My name is Danielle, and I'm a huge fan. You are just my absolute role model. But I had a question about how it was raising your daughter, Isla. My daughter is similar, I think, in the respect that she, you have mentioned that your job was just to keep Isla alive. And I wanted to know how you coped with it. Like when she's doing something dangerous and you are scared and excited, like stressed out, how did you deal with the stress of it? Because I have a tendency to kind of freak out, be very reactive and, let my anxiety get the best of me and yell and, just not be very productive. Obviously, I want to keep her safe and I want to teach her to be safer. And I was just wondering what I can do or what your thoughts are or how you coped with the stress and just the anxiety and in the moment, the reaction of something dangerous happening. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your podcast. I love your podcast. And I just love you. Thank you so much for everything you do. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Nice. That's so nice.
This is a great question that I'll answer. Well, I would say I was the anxiety-riddled person.
Yes.
So it's a great question that she asked you that I'll answer.
Okay, and then I'll answer it afterwards.
And then I'll tell you where you're wrong.
I'm never wrong. Remember, we've already determined this. I am never wrong, and neither are you. So.
I had a problem with Isla's. Georgia was always a little more cautious.
Measured, yeah.
And that's my brain. Mm-hmm. LeeAnn was a little more wild child. Mm-hmm. So I'll just go to the lake. There's a neighbor at the lake that's got a 25-foot dock. Mm-hmm. And Isla wanted to jump off it when she was young. Mm-hmm. LeeAnn was like, absolutely. Put on a life preserver, make sure, and then jump. This is how you want to jump. And I was like, this is a horrible fucking idea. Mm-hmm. And so when we took, LeeAnn was always adamant about letting the girls learn how to drive the wave runners. And I was always like, fuck that. Mm-hmm. And you go, hey, you got to let her learn. And I remember Isla hit me with the wave runner one time. Mm-hmm. And so I was always very cautious. And whereas LeeAnn lived a little bit more of a wild life, the struggles LeeAnn had with Isla was what you are having is the independence of a person, where a person decides they're driving their ship and they don't need parenting. And that was Isla. Isla was like, yo, LeeAnn's like, climb a tree. Isla's like, I'll climb a tree when no one's fucking looking. Mm-hmm. And that's when LeeAnn would go, whoa. There are rules to this, correct?
Yes. I did try. Here's one thing I think is really important, that when you have a kid that is rowdy like that, that's climbing, the worst thing you could do is say, you're going to fall. You're going to hurt yourself.
That's what I did.
You're going to fall.
Predict their behavior.
You're going to cut yourself. You're putting that on them. And then you're saying, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. What I tried to do was say, let's be safe in this. Totally do it. You can jump off the 25-foot dock, but you got to wear a life vest. You got to point your feet when you're in the water. This is how you got to do it.
Keep your mouth closed. Don't have your tongue outside your mouth.
You might want to hold your nose.
Whereas I just said, don't do it. Don't do it.
And then, or you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break your feet. You're going to fall. You're going to bust your head open. When you talk to a kid when you talk to them in a predictive way, when you're predicting
this is
a negative outcome.
You have said to me, you become their God because you're telling them what's going to happen. And then when it happens, you become their God.
You're right. And you're right. And then you own their self-esteem. And then you own their own judgment. Then you own their inability to be able to problem solve or figure out a safe route, right? It's so counterproductive.
And then you end up with a comedian who doesn't talk about politics because his dad's like, you're a fucking idiot. Don't, it's the truth. I mean, honestly, not that I want to talk about politics, but like, I don't talk about politics because as a child, my dad would predict my failures. Uh-huh. You're going to cut. I remember I was cutting an orange.
It's the worst thing you can do.
Cutting an orange with a knife in my hand. And my dad said, you're going to cut your hand. I said, I got it. And he goes, you're going to cut your hand. You watch. You're going to cut your hand. I said, Dad, I'm good. And I cut my hand like a stigmata, like through the fucking center. And then he goes, I told you. And
instead of saying, hold on real quick.
Let me show you how to cut a fucking orange.
Or let's get a cutting board and let's put the orange on the cutting board. And that's the safest way to do that.
And I would do what my dad did. That's it. You're going to fall. You're going to hurt yourself. See, I told you. And LeeAnn's like, stop that.
You don't do that.
You're becoming their God. And that is not cool. You help them through it. And I always, and they'd go out and fucking get on the boat at 2 a.m. and run those trot lines, and snakes would be out there. And I was this nervous parent. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I remember LeeAnn would say over 1,000,000 times, you got to eat a pound of dirt. And you got to let them fail. You got to let them get sick. They're going to get sick. People have been through worse.
But the thing is, what she's asking is, how do you cope with it? Right. So I don't know how to cope with that anxiety, because what I feel like, and I actually have to give my dad a lot of credit for this. he would give me tools to make the right decision as opposed to telling me what to do. So he would say, let's think about that. Is that safe? Or how do you make that safe? Now, I don't know how old her kids are. If she's got a 3-year-old, you can't really talk to them like that. But you can put boundaries up, like hitting. No, you can't hit in your family. There's no hitting in our family. But the messaging should be, it's my job to keep you safe. And this is not safe. That way you're not saying you're going to fall. You can say this is not safe. I have to keep you safe. And this is not safe. Not even you're not safe. Because then kids don't understand how not to personalize that. When you say you or your, they believe it's them. And then as they get older, it's that critical thinking piece about safety that you have to try and help them grow.
There was a lot of tethering cabinets into the walls because Isla would climb cabinets.
Yes, there's a lot of, built-in safety you just have to put in place. As soon as she got out of her crib, she moved out of her bedroom because I was like, well, she's in a loft bedroom. She's going to fall over. That is me just taking care of eliminating the source of the problem. Because really, if brother is hitting sister in the head with a freaking duck decoy, you take the duck decoy.
I forget.
It eliminates
what
the problem.
Fucking lunatic she was.
She was a lunatic.
Do you remember the time you were at work and I have a picture of this? And I was watching Isla, and I'm sure I was just off the road, and I wasn't paying attention. And I walked out to our balcony, and she was standing on the roof of her play structure, on top of our balcony, above. She was overlooking Hollywood,
5th floor,
and she was standing on top of the roof, like a fiddler standing on top of this roof above above it, just looking at Hollywood. And I went, I do not know how to raise this kid. We used to have a joke. She lived like she had an life insurance policy on herself, and she was trying to collect the money.
Yeah.
She was so fucking insanely wild.
Mm-hmm. But here's a perfect example of what I would do, right? She loved to jump off the arm of the couch onto the couch. She'd go up on the arm, and she's like 11 months old.
Yeah.
She's really little. Well, I didn't stop her from doing that, but I stood on the side of the couch that didn't have a back. And I just stood there and let her jump so that if she were in trouble, I could grab her or if she couldn't fall off the front part of the couch. But I remember your dad losing his mind that I would let her do this. And I'm like, she's burning energy. She can't really hurt herself. And what's the worst that could happen? She maybe break an arm? Okay. Then we just go get her arm set. It's really not that deep. Yeah. She's not going to kill herself from jumping on the arm of the couch onto a soft cushion. What if she missed the couch and fell on the floor? Then she could hurt herself. So I just stand between the couch and the floor and let her go.
You were really good with managing my anxiety in those moments because I would be covered in anxiety.
Yes.
And my dad, still to this day, is covered in anxiety.
And the kids look to you to see if they're safe. Right? And if you are, listen, kids aren't always safe. It's not safe that our daughter was not entirely 100% safe that she was jumping off the arm of the couch. There's a million things she did that wasn't entirely safe.
Her brain looked for the unsafe things.
She's a climber.
Remember we got that ottoman that had the closed top on it? And my dad's like, don't fucking buy it. They're going to lock themselves in there like Houdini. They're going to suffocate. They're going to die. I said, Dad, you're overthinking this.
As soon as we brought it home, she put herself in that ottoman.
Dad, guess where baby Isla is? And I was like, motherfucker.
In the ottoman.
She's in the goddamn ottoman.
She was in the ottoman,
She was in the ottoman. She was laughing hysterically.
She was. She used to shinny up the side of the cabinets. Every single shelf in our house had to be strapped to the wall.
If you said, do not eat this, she'd put it in her mouth immediately. Do you remember when she was sucking on the chicken neck?
Uh-huh.
A raw chicken neck I put in the garbage. I said, Isla, do not touch that. And I turned around, she was sucking on it. Do you remember when I cut jalapenos? Mm-hmm. And I said, Isla, absolutely do not touch these jalapenos. She walked into the kitchen. She goes, did I just eat poison?
That's the thing about kids is they hear what you say. What you say is touch chicken, touch jalapeno, cut yourself, hurt yourself, gonna fall. So when you choose your words like choose safety, use a cutting board, That's garbage. You're saying the same thing, except how they receive that information is very different.
Good luck with this child.
Isla's great. What are you talking
Isla's
about?
great now, but man, I remember the panic of where I can hear it in her voice of like where I was when you're like, how do I keep this fucking kid safe? You know, I used to, when I come off the road, I would put a belt around myself, and then I put a belt around Isla, and then I'd tether our two belts together, and I'd pass out in the bed so that she couldn't get out of the belt, because it was like it was a wild animal.
Yeah, she was like a wild animal. But to answer your question about how you dealt with your own anxiety about it, I'm not really sure. Only in to say that the more you try to control the chaos of that child, the less control you'll have over it.
That's
so
a good answer.
You have to figure out how to set parameters in place where they don't feel controlled, but that you can feel better. Like jumping off the edge of the couch. Where I stood on the edge, I just stood there.
By the end, we'd hit her in the back with a pillow and go, here comes the motivator.
And help her. If you force that out of them, you're changing who they are. I've never wanted to change who my kids were. I just wanted them to be who they are and stay alive. So how do you jump off something safely? How do you dig through the trash safely?
And those kids, I hate to say it,
are the best.
Those kids, they're pretty hard to kill.
Yeah. Isla used to lay face down at the beach and eat the sand, literally eat the sand.
If you said to Isla the waves are dangerous, she would go stand on a rock.
Yep.
Do you remember that picture we got of her standing on the rock one time, fully clothed? Those kids are resilient. Those kids are resilient.
They really are. And your job is to speak to them in a way that they can understand that who they are is not bad. Their choices aren't bad. They just have to choose to be safe so they can keep doing that shit. And then find a way in yourself to set some parameters up where, I used to say this jokingly, what kids want is a corral and then to be left alone in the corral. That's what a kid wants. They want fences, and then inside the fence, they can do whatever they want. So that's how I tried to set up parameters for the girls, you know? You just kind of go, okay, if you're going to jump off the couch, I'm going to stand here and keep you safe. If you're going to jump in the deep end over and over and over again, I'm going to stand on the edge, but I don't have to be in the water, and I don't have to be talking to you all the time. We just have to stick with the plan, and then let them go. And that takes a lot of forethought for parenting. Parenting is not just like show up and hope it works out.
And also give them wrong analogy, but give them the rope within which to hang themselves. Like find some crazy fun activities that is scary to them where you're in control. Like I remember teaching Isla how to scuba dive.
Yes.
And going like, we taught Georgia and her friend, and they were like, they go like 2 feet underwater. And then Isla was like, yo, give it to me. I'm getting to the bottom. And Isla would lay at the bottom of the pool with a fucking regulator and stare up at the moon, just sitting there. And I just lay at the bottom. And I knew she was safe.
Yep.
We were in 6 feet of water.
Yep.
And she felt wildly like dangerous and proud of herself.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew we were fine. I was on the buddy regulator with her. Mm-hmm. I was with her the whole fucking time. Nothing bad was going to happen. But she felt wild.
Mm-hmm. I taught her and her friends how to climb a tree in the park. And they thought that was the biggest thing ever.
I remember that. And I didn't know they had learned how to climb a tree.
I taught them all how to climb a tree all at the same time.
And Isla's 18 feet up in a tree.
Yeah. It was
She's like, I'm not coming down.
It's pretty cool.
One more caller.
Hi, LeeAnn. I'm a big fan. I love the podcast. Real quick, I just wanted to ask, given some time has passed, how are your feelings about Ari Shaffir? I'll be very upfront.
Did you know that was cute?
No, I did not.
Garbage personally, but I'm just curious to know if a little bit of time has passed and maybe your feelings have changed. Love you so much. Bye.
Oh, I'm happy to answer it. Did you really not know that was?
I did not know that.
You promise?
I swear to God. On everything in this life and the next, I swear to God, I didn't know that was.
Wow, how about that? That's pretty crazy. Okay, I'm happy to answer this question. I was really upset with Ari, and I think I had every right to be. He came in and took advantage of a safe place. He used to come to our house and do laundry and hang out when he was between gigs and in LA. My kids loved Ari, and to come in our house and to give my husband a drug without his knowledge, not knowing Bert's medical history and all his friggin' blood pressure medication with 2 small kids in the house on the last day before he hit the road, fucking made me furious. And what I needed from Ari was a little bit of time to pass, to cool down, and a real apology. And Ari gave me the most sincere, complete apology I've ever received from a person in my entire life. And I'm not joking. I don't really talk in hyperbole. I mean that very sincerely. He so clearly explained back to me how that one moment affected me and my children. He explained it so humbly and succinctly and clearly, and apologized. I believed every word he said. I believed the sincerity of his apology. I believed he felt terrible. I believed he understood his own loss in it. I believed he understood what a big mistake it was. I believe he felt regret for it. And I believed every single bit of his apology. And I forgave him immediately. As soon as he apologized, I forgave him immediately. I mean, Ari was a great part of our family, and it was not fun to not like him the way that I didn't like him. I don't walk around wanting to not like people. That's not who I am. And so, but I couldn't really forgive him if he didn't apologize and really understood why it affected me the way that it did. I'd said to Bert at one point, if someone came in our house and did that to me, how would you feel? And Bert was like, I would kill him. I'd be so angry. So I have totally forgiven Ari. I really, truly forgive him. I believe completely he just made a really stupid mistake. It was just really stupid. And I think that's the long and the short of it.
Yep. It's a great way to end this.
I think so. I mean, do you think I expressed it well?
100%.
Okay.
And I have to give a little bit of flowers to Ari.
100%. You should give flowers to Ari.
Everyone should be forgiven for everything they do.
I completely agree.
Everyone makes mistakes, and I tried to repair this relationship like putting a square peg through a hole a bunch of times, and it just happened organically, and it was perfect, and I wasn't a part of it. And I was a small part of it, and that I knew he would be there, and I knew you'd be there. I didn't think it would ever happen. And Ari was, I will say, in that moment, a better person than 90% of the people out on this planet. Where I didn't get to see the apology, but I just heard it from LeeAnn, and I know how she is with apologies, and I know Ari, and it was one of my favorite moments that's ever happened.
I was thoroughly and completely impressed with who he was as a human being based on that one apology.
Yeah.
And he had apologized to me in the past, and they were not impressive. They were shitty. They were not good apologies. They were like this, it was a joke, right? That's not an apology. That doesn't count. So I needed him to apologize.
And by the way, no one forced it on him. He wanted to.
And I have never even said I need that. I never said anything. I never addressed it with him or publicly ever. He came up with that. I don't know if it was conversations with you or other people. I have no idea how he came up with it.
I was like, they'll never be friends. That's cool. I'll still have Ari in my life, and this will just be something that I just deal with.
Well, I never kept Ari out of your life. I kept him out of our house.
Yeah.
And away from me. Because I was so angry at him. I was really angry.
And then he came back, and the first thing he did, laundry.
I know, right? The first day he came back here, he came up with laundry. I was like, boy, we're all the way back in, aren't we? It didn't take but just 1 second. But yeah, it was a really beautiful moment. I have to say, it was a really beautiful moment in my life.
Every dude listening to this right now should know that you can find culpability in your actions and find out where you're wrong and process it and go to someone and make amends, because amends means a lot to everyone. And I'll tell you right now, it meant more to me than anyone.
Wow. It was really special, and it was really appreciated. And with grace and gratitude, I say there is no bad blood with Ari anymore. From that moment, The moment he apologized, it was over because of the sincerity and the thought, the obvious meaning and thought he put into what he was saying. I love Ari, and I really appreciate it very deeply.
This is a great podcast. I'm going to go take a nap on my bus.
I'm going to go see my dad.
I love you.
I loved all these questions. Let's do this again.
Let's do it again. You should bring in a comic and.
Are you now on my podcast now?
No. We should do callers and bring in like whenever we have comics in here, I would do a couple callers. Like, how great would Mark Norman be? This.
What you need is a cross-dressing nanny. That's what you need.
Or Tommy or Push or this is great. I think this is great. I think
thanks.
I like you doing it, and I like being a part of it. But I think this is really cool because I would love access to people I listen to.
Yeah.
I'd love to fucking call into Dan Carlin and talk about Genghis Khan and, or how cool would it be to call into Rogan and be like, yo, what did you think about I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I take in a lot of information.
Yeah.
Like the listeners on here, I'm a fan. Yeah. So I would love to fucking deep dive and dig deeper on people and figure out how they're getting things to work in their life.
Right.
And not everyone has all the answers.
No, I definitely don't have all the answers at all, but I've worked really hard at trying to be the best person I could be.
And by the way, the answers work great for you if they work great for you, and if they don't, they don't, and take them or leave them or whatever. But this is cool.
Thanks, babe, for crashing my inaugural question and answer podcast. It was
cool.
It's way easier to talk to you than a camera, so thank you. Because I was feeling really awkward.
No, it's cool as shit. I like that you're doing this. Hey, like I said. Going back to that earlier caller, we're not doing this for a financial payout. No. We're just doing it because it's fun for us.
Yeah.
We like to hear your questions.
Yeah.
We like to hear what you're going through. We can relate to them in a lot of ways. And a lot of the stuff you're going through, we're still going through. We're still trying to figure out.
Well, I think that's what's interesting about me and you is that we're actually a real couple. Like we really
Tom and Christina, who were put together by two agents in Hollywood.
Oh, shut up! That's not true.
You're going to marry her because it'll be financially beneficial.
No, that's not true.
And then
but I mean, like we're a real work in progress. We're still figuring shit out.
Progress,
right?
But not last night.
I love you, baby.
I love you too.